Michael,
Raz.
how was your travel?
It's good. Back from Thailand. It was busy.
Yeah, good to be back, and we have a special guest today.
Special guest. We're going to try to introduce her to the best of our abilities.
I know you can do that. Go.
Elena Lukyanenko.
You got it.
It's not bad. It's not bad. And I'll just admit to everybody, we've been practicing it because it's a tough one. You are working at Cisco ThousandEyes, right? And you're kind of from the space around networking, security, and things like that. So it'll be interesting to talk about that. But your also background is not any of that stuff. That's the other thing we think is kind of interesting. But yeah, you also have your, what do you call it, your Substack, Graceful Edge, which I've been reading that. And I think it was that, there's always a reason why I've called somebody, just to be clear, and just to kind of set the stage. It was either a post you did or a Graceful Edge link that I read.
It was the post that went really viral.
Yes, to everybody. And I think that's how I discovered you, which is when LinkedIn algorithm works, which lately it doesn't at all. Is everybody seeing 2-week-old content in their LinkedIn like I am? It's ridiculous.
Even 1 month.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's driving me nuts. So I discovered you through LinkedIn, and I remember you were at Microsoft as well, which I knew that. And you kind of hit on the trope that, we've talked to my brother recently, we talked to Paul from it, like the world of employment for people, that I think of are past their 30s and doing things, have had long careers. It's just changed a lot for how long roles last and how we find new roles, and just also thinking a lot about what else do you do with your life and what do you assign value to. It really hit home with me because I was like, man, this is my struggle sometimes, but it's probably to the popularity of your posts, you must have got a lot of comments and people like where you've resounded with a lot of people, I'm guessing, on that same. So we're going to get into that as well because I think that's super interesting. So welcome to the Generalist.
Well, thank you for having me, Raz, Michael.
Yeah,
sure. We're going to jump into AI.
Of course.
And it's part of our life, part of our DNA. It's not a buzzword anymore. We use it every single day. And I want to get your perspective. Like, which AI products do you use on a daily basis? What changed your life? What sticks to you? How you can, leverage your capability by using, different tools?
Yeah, I like it how you say that AI is already part of our life, because I think for us, more tech-forward people, it is, but for a lot of people, it is not. And there is still a lot of fear around this tool. As for me, I'm an early adopter. I've been with AI since my Microsoft days, since early days, since it was machine learning first, cognitive AI, predictive AI, and then only got into generative AI. And it is hard to think of any tool that I use that doesn't have AI as a part of it. But I think the one that is my biggest collaborator, of course, ChatGPT. Although I do use Claude as well, and I experiment with Gemini, but ChatGPT is the one that I started as an early adopter. It just knows too much about me. And I really feel I train it well. I have a plus version, so I'm a paid subscriber. And I use it really as my collaborator, sales assistant, not only in my work, but funny use cases. Like recently, I changed my hair, the color and the cut. And what I did, there's a video, you can do the video with ChatGPT where I took, I want to change my style, make it freshen up, look younger, more cool, more edgy. So I took a video and then recommend to me the hairstyles and the color. And then I sent him the photo of my clothes, what I usually wear. Like, what do you think about my clothing style? And compared with my branding, like how I'm perceived by other people. So it actually gave me a very cool style that is called corporate rebel, which is something, like you wear official, but there is some element to it that is out of system. Like if you take a look at my shoes, you'll see the tabby shoes. So that's the element that a bit different. So things like this, or as of recent, I discovered the audio chats in GPT. When I'm too lazy to type, I just turn on the audio and we have a conversation. And it can be anything with my therapist, right? Then situations at work. Of course, recently I had a lot of job hunting type of activities. I was interviewing in multiple companies, helping me learn the areas that I don't know, like, for example, networking. I had no idea about networking, the area that I was always shying away, even being in cloud AI for many years. Then going deeper into data analytics, all that was done with ChatGPT and of course other tools. Like you asked me only one, but the second one is Perplexity. They kind of go hand in hand. They are on my front page on my mobile phone, they're on my desktop, and these are the main tools with whom I'm spending time.
Do you have any concerns? Because we use them, sometimes it can create bias, yeah, because we rely on them.
Yes.
And then how it's going to reflect the reality.
Look, I don't blindly trust AI tools. This is just a bouncing board, but I still use my real intelligence to analyze, or if it's fact checking, if you do the business research or any type of research, you do the fact checking. And there is still a lot of hallucination that these AI tools have, like totally random. I was choosing a perfume also as a part of my rebranding. And like, hey, this is the perfumes that I have, and I have a very big collection. Based on this, give me 10 others that I might like and describe it to me what kind of scent it is, what kind of image that creates. And he gave me good names, but I knew those perfumes. And the scent that he described, if something, for example, in reality smells like magnolia, gave me like smells like cherry. I'm like, that's not cherry. Come on, I know that one. So like you cannot blindly trust them, but it's a good kind of like sounding board. For me also, I'm a generalist, and that's why I think I'm on this podcast. And I have too many ideas. So sometimes I just need to do that brain dump. I'll just turn on the audio and just speak. Like, look, I'm going to tell you a lot of different things now. Please analyze this, put them in the buckets and the topics, maybe put in the list of priority and some action items. And I'll just keep talking for the next 20, 30 minutes. So that poor thing will process all the mess that I throw into this. And that really helps me to bring more clarity to myself and be more clear as I speak, communicate with others.
Yeah. I had a situation yesterday. I have 3 daughters. My middle one, she's 8. And she said, Daddy, I want that ChatGPT will be my best friend. How can I do that? How would you respond?
Wow. My son still doesn't know what AI is, and he's 6. He is all on Netflix. But that's a good question. I would actually ask, if it was my son who asked me, like, what kind of feature, like what are you looking at ChatGPT that you don't see among your friends or in your surrounding? Because until today, maybe it's a sweet time, but Mama and Papa are the best friends of his, right? It's not even his.
Hopefully.
No, he says, you're my best friend. So
okay.
he actively communicates this.
He's still at that perfect age.
Yes, he's a sweet boy. So I would be very surprised about that question. But it's really when people want to replace a real human connection with robotic, you want to understand what is lacking, right? Because they do it for the reason. And probably there's something that they don't feel heard. I would assume so. Or someone doesn't have time to listen them out. Or they have so much ideas going on, they have this chaos in the head, which sometimes I have, that they need clarity. But again, why wouldn't that be your parent? If someone is older, your human friend. But I can see this happening with our children, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think it's going away.
Yeah, and then like I think a while ago when the movie Her came out, right, we were all thinking like, oh, that guy is weirdo. But that's normal today. I think
That's
a lot
us. That's us. It's not her.
that's us becoming. Yes.
It's not going to go away. Before we jump into a range of things, you're in Singapore, but you're not from Singapore.
Yes.
So how did you get here, and kind of what has that journey been like to come from Ukraine to Singapore?
Well, it was not from Ukraine to Singapore.
Not directly, but
Not directly, yes. Altogether, I've been in Asia for over 18 years already. In Singapore, this is my 12th year, and I call this home. Singapore is my home now. Prior to Singapore, I was in China. So that was kind of my jump from Europe into China first. I spent 6 years there, loved it. That's where I've been hired into Microsoft.
In China?
In China, yes. And once I landed in Microsoft, which is a global company, I understood that the world is open for me. I can go live anywhere. And I loved living in Shanghai in China, but unfortunately the air situation, the pollution got so bad that I was just scared for my health. It's like, well, we need to get out of here.
Yeah.
And I was considering different places. It was still right after the economic crisis of 2008, so the Europe was doing not so well. So I was considering Asia, and it was Tokyo, Sydney, or Singapore. I really love Tokyo, I love Japan, but culturally, I think I would not be able to live there for a long time because it's too restrictive for me and I like to break the rules.
Rebellion. We said rebellion, no?
Yeah, a little bit of rebellion. So I don't think Tokyo would be a good one. So I abandoned that idea. So it was then between Sydney and Singapore. And I was looking for the job within Microsoft to get relocation. Mm-hmm. That's the easiest part. And Singapore came first. And that's how I ended up here.
Yeah, and you call it home. Is it kind of your forever place in Asia? Or do you imagine you?
Well, nothing is forever.
Sure, but
nothing is forever. For now, look, I'm in Singapore PR. Hopefully, I'll become a citizen one day once I get accepted. But for now, this is the best place to live as I think about my career, about my family, my child. It's safe, it's convenient. I like the climate. A lot of people complain they cannot live in this hot and humid climate. For me, it's good. For me, it's opposite. If it's cold, I cannot stand that. And it's easy to access anywhere.
Yeah, it's a great spot.
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Yeah.
It's good to be here.
I agree with the weather, by the way. I love the weather. So we already have something in common.
Yeah.
I saw your background and you did variety of roles with also different disciplines, meaning you had to change.
Yes.
And then come to the place of, we spoke about it, but now I want to double click on it, is specialist versus generalist.
Yes.
How do you see yourself and how you maybe shift between these two categories?
Yeah, so look, I am a generalist, but the generalist not in a way of a scattered. It's more of the high level view and being able to see the patterns and transfer the skills and build on top of the skills that you acquired before. If you look at my career, I'm in tech, right? But I don't have tech degree. I have a master in finance. After university, even during university, I was working in the security as a security agent in Airlines. That was good money that paid during my nighttime. I was working for night shifts in the airlines, and during the daytime, I was studying in university. Then I went to work as, I would call it business development, but really it was an entrepreneurial job with one of the frequent flyers on Airlines who called me to create this retail space for outlet of Victoria's Secret and Ralph Lauren in Ukraine. I'm like, well, I have this stock in my warehouse. What can you do with it? So I had an idea. I wrote it to him, like, come on board, do that for me. So we opened a couple of retail stores in Kyiv, created a white label brand. So the whole thing, hired salespeople, trained them. And that was my kind of like underwear empire, as I call it, lingerie empire. Unfortunately, that person cheated me on money, did not pay me what he promised me, so I left. And I had a small break at that time when Malaysian government reached out to me. And I was terrified, to be honest, because Israel, Malaysia, I'm here working for Israeli security. And then Malaysia embassy calls me for the interview, like something is not right. But I went anyway, like, what do I have to lose? And that ended up being a legit job. I got a contract with a Malaysian trade organization as their representative in Eastern Europe to promote Malaysian timber. I had no idea.
I was going to say, you're not a timber person.
I'm like not a timber person. I learned everything on the way. I mean, by the way, Malaysian timber is the best. If you didn't know, like those redwood, hardwood tables and furniture, it's very expensive and very durable. So I got on a job. My first trip is to Malaysia once I start the contract for onboarding activity. It was 3 weeks trip. And during the trip, I learned a lot about Malaysia. It's a real job. I thought maybe it was some sort of trafficking, which you don't want to end up. But it was a real job, great people, that opened eyes for me for this region, for Malaysia and ASEAN. And I think on the third day there, I met this gentleman who's now my husband. That's been a long story, right? And but after I went back to Ukraine, worked till the end of my contract, and then we decided with this gentleman that it's time for us to move in somewhere because it was long distance relationship, and we thought, well, let's go together in a neutral territory China.
Very neutral.
Very well, distance-wise. Like he will
Yeah.
take a flight, I'll take a flight. He opened the business. I came on a tourist visa and said, I'll find a job. I'll give me 1 month. I'll get the job in Shanghai. Like, you know, when you're 20-something, you don't really, you
I'll
don't
just
have
do
any
it.
boundaries. I cannot do it. No worries. And I did it. So in 1 month, I landed a job as a marketing manager at that time in a consultancy firm. And that's how my Asia story started. I had to do marketing, which again, I had not much idea about this, but I thought I'll figure out. I know how to use Facebook, I know how to use Twitter, and I definitely can communicate. Later on, I remember I spent 4 years in this company, PTL Group. I remember the day that probably a year after I started working, the CEO said, when he found out how old I was at that time, like, if I knew how old were you, I would never hire you. And
Surprise, I'm here.
Surprise. Well, that was like young age. At that age, I really had to pretend to be older than I was for people to take me seriously. But I think age also worked to my advantage because I could really get hold on all the tech tools, and that was the age when digital marketing was spinning up, email marketing, automation, CRM, funnels. Like no one was really doing this. And I wanted to do it, but I didn't have any tech resources to do it. So I learned myself. I went on forums and I was like, okay, which tools you're using? No budget, right? So it was all open source. How do you create the website? I remember I was doing the website on Joomla myself, getting some PHP codes, changed. My husband was helping. People on the forum from Africa were helping to change some PHP code. And that's how slowly I got into tech. And a few years down the line, Microsoft came in. They needed support to set up their social care ecosystem on all digital channels like Facebook, Twitter, Sina Weibo at that time, WeChat. So it was across all Asia, 9 languages, 15 markets. How many markets we have here? 15, 16. And they were looking for someone who has that experience with digital. And that's how I got into Microsoft. For me, it was the idea, well, I'm going to get in because as a marketeer, I want to be now part of the vendor who does the tools that marketeers use because the tools were not perfect, right? I had to stitch everything myself. So that's how my Microsoft story started. And after that, I worked in China for 1.5 years, and I decided, well, I need to get out of here. So I was looking for the new role. I landed a role similar context because I had a pivot from social media, kind of like the social media engagement with consumers, to enterprise social. There's a product called Yammer that was acquisition by Microsoft that created that social network for enterprises. So I came in to help build the APAC customer success team.
Around Yammer.
Yeah, around Yammer. At that time, customer success was an unknown animal. I still remember giving out the business card to the customers or partners, like, oh, what exactly you do? Customer success, like, do you help me to be successful? Like, is it customer support? Is it technical?
People see
account
it as
manager?
support. They saw it as support.
But because it was success, it was sticky, right? And suddenly everyone wants to be successful and everyone wants to talk to you. And that's how I got into all this cloud space, because as a customer success, you need to drive adoption and retention and upsell. And as Yammer evolved into Office 365, I was working closely with the sales teams from Microsoft who were at that time hardcore perpetual license EA type of sellers that every 3 years they will come wait for the order, or they will go and do the SAM, meaning auditing the customers if there is any fake software, and they will find them, and that's how they're gonna get their order.
I like to call them the farmers.
Oh yeah, there is a saying in Malaysia, if you don't know, there is Durian King. Have you heard about this?
No.
So Durian King, and we're kind of getting off tangent, but it's a funny one. So durian, usually the way you collect durians, they have to fall down from the tree. That's the ripe one. So Durian King is the one who's sitting under the tree and waiting for durian to come. So that's a local context to the farmer.
Waiting for that order to come in.
Yeah. So going back to where I was working together with the salespeople from Microsoft and helping them sell the solution by identifying use cases, working with customers to especially C-level, to coach them about the modern workplace. It was a new thing at that time, all this collaboration, breaking the silos, enabling the frontline workers to communicate with executives. And all the salespeople I was working with, they were getting all these deals, they were getting crazy commissions, and I was on a regular bonus plan, by far less money than all the guys and girls were receiving. And I was like, that's not fair.
How do I get that?
I did the whole job. They get commission. There is only a few that ever bought me drinks for that. Like, I want to be that salesperson. And that became a goal. How do I transition into sales and earn a lot of money? Because at that time, it was all about money.
Yeah.
How did you do that? Because the transition, it's not easy.
So it's not easy at all, especially in the corporates. The objections that came in were like, well, you never carry the bag. How can we be sure that you'll be able to deal with stress, with the tension, and all those things? So like, well, I can carry the bag because technically I did it. Good thing in companies like Microsoft, you could have a big network of mentors, sponsors. So I just got a bunch of mentors. They saw the talent in me, and they put me on the shadowing. I was shadowing the best sellers. I was participating in all the sales training. My manager was also supportive of this extra assignments and extra time that I spent mastering sales discipline. And I remember for 2 years, I was trying to get the sales roles, and I was rejected constantly. Sales role comes in, like, I'll sell anything. Just give me the chance. Give me the chance. No. And an interesting thing came when this Office 365 team has been made redundant globally. And so here I am in Singapore on employment pass. It was right before Chinese New Year in February. I don't have a job. I have 1 month to either find a job or I'll be sent back to Ukraine, which I haven't lived by that time in Ukraine for 8 years. So I have nothing there. I have no apartment, no bank account, nothing. I officially moved out. And it's the Chinese New Year, which means most of the companies are closed anyways. So that was that high stress time while all my colleagues globally, they were complaining that it's not fair, like all this victimizing, like, I don't have time for this. I have to go find a job. And I went really active on my network, and I discovered at that time that I really underestimated my network, that there were so many people that were ready to help by referrals, connections, mentoring, preparing for the interviews. Really so grateful to all the people who helped out, not only in Singapore, because at that time I'm like, well, maybe I don't want to stay in Singapore. Maybe I want to go to New York. That was my my dream. And what do you think? In 1 month, I landed 3 offers in Singapore and that dream offer in New York with Microsoft.
Impressive.
And I spent 1 week crying during the Chinese New Year because I couldn't make decision whether I go to New York.
As to which one to choose.
Yes, it was New York Office 365 specialist under amazing manager. Great team there. And I'm like, wow, this is the dream, right? Everyone wants to go to New York and be there. Or it was the sales leader role in Singapore, but the sales leader role for whole Asia, for Azure. And at that time, it was still a kind of scale up, startup-ish mode in Microsoft.
What year was it?
It was 2016.
Good timing.
It's still the product, it was not as good as AWS. A lot of bugs. We were competing really hard. So a lot of risk here. But at the end, again, my mentors recommended make it based on your lifestyle choice. Like career, it will be always there. So at the end, it went down to lifestyle. I thought if I go to New York, I'll probably, and I was 30, like early 30s. If I go to New York, probably my family will get delayed, my family project. I was not married at that time. And that's not really what I want. Like I wanted to have a family, I wanted to have kids. If I stay in Singapore, yes, it's limiting me only to Asia probably, but here is all this Azure, which seems to be a cool thing that everyone is talking about, right? That was the investment from Microsoft, a big time. High visibility, also big risk because the previous person was not very successful. That's why they were looking for someone else. And I took the bet on Azure. Actually, it was my manager who took a bet on me, because if you think about it, it was my first sales role, but it was a sales leadership role. It's not just the sell, it's a sales leadership role, driving transformation within Microsoft, driving transformation within ecosystem, with customers, with a product that is chasing up to the competition with multiple initiatives, gazillion of stakeholders. And I asked my manager at that time, team, why me? I don't think I can do that. I don't know stuff. I don't even know what that Azure is. And how do you expect me to teach the seasoned salespeople to sell this, right? I don't have any credibility. And he said, look, I can see in you what you cannot see. You can totally do it. And he was really that rock behind me. He had to get into some fights with some stakeholders who did not believe in me like he did. And I hope that he never regretted it. But in that case, he explained that the key capability we're looking for is that ability to communicate clearly on different levels, from executive to down to the seller or the partner practitioner, to be able to communicate at different levels and to be able to influence without authority. Because influencing within Microsoft, you work there, that's a different sport. Even in sales, you probably spend 90% selling internally and then only 10% with the customer. I think when people say that customers are difficult, doing it internally with Microsoft, fighting for...
Surviving is more difficult.
Yeah, surviving, getting the right deal, the right timing, right support from teams, from all the resources. So it's much more challenging. And that's how my sales career started. It was not easy, but it was a great ramp up, probably 1 year for 5. I didn't sleep at nights because I had to learn the technology to be more or less credible and know what I'm talking about. That's been amazing, and that's how the cloud came in, that it was data workloads, then cognitive AI came in, and from there it just rocketed into space.
This reinvention is the way I think about it, and it's something you talk about as well in your stuff. Like, how do you do this as a process? Is it just you see another thing and you go for it? Because I think even you mentioned something that I think was kind of important, where you talk about because a lot of people are getting laid off, right?
Yeah.
Like Microsoft it's 15,000 this year. It's an insane number, right? And there's the victim card that can be played, because I've been there, where it's like, this wasn't my fault. This is, whatever happened. And then you got to get past that a little bit. Then you got to get on that horse and go find a job, right? But, how do you explain that, and what advice do you give to people that are in that situation? Because there's a lot of them, even in Singapore, right? And some of them are under that same thing. Like, they got 3 months and they got to give up even living here.
Yes.
But the victim card won't really help, even though you feel terrible. How do you see past that? And what is this advice you'd give people on this reinvention of, I got to go do another thing, which I think is what generalism speaks to. But I'm curious how you think about it, and maybe share with others what might help.
Yeah, so for me, look, that was my first layoff in Microsoft. Second time redundancy just happened in April when I left Broadcom. And the key here is not to wait until you're laid off. Let's assume you will be. It's the matter of time. And the question is here, how do you prepare yourself ahead of time? I think earlier, maybe 10 years ago, it was not as common. Now we see in tech industry that happens every week. So you need to be thinking about yourself. Okay, today I'm working for this company, but let's assume tomorrow I don't. Like, what will I be able to do? If I need to earn money, what skills I can leverage? So continue building those transferable skills, building your personal brand. That's super important. And personal brand is different from your professional brand. If you are working, let's say in Microsoft for this context, as a data and AI salesperson, that's your professional brand. But who are you outside of that? Because what happens, and that's what hits people really hard, I think, when they lose their job, they lose their identity. Now, I don't have the title. You go to any networking event, any drinks, the question usually asked, like, oh, where are you from? What do you do? I'm like, I don't know what I am doing. Like, I don't know who am I. So it's important to have those questions answered for yourself, who you are outside of your work. And it's okay to say, look, I'm just a housewife. I don't really want to work. That's fine, right? And it's fine to say that I'm a career-driven person. I just want to be famous, rich, and powerful. That's why I'm gonna go and do anything it takes to get there. It's fine. Like different people have different goals. But victim card, I think it's the worst strategy because it doesn't really help in the moment, doesn't help the situation. It spirals you down in all the other areas of life because suddenly you feel pity for yourself. You feel that something was not done fair for you. That impacts relationship, that some people get into depression. They don't even want to talk to other people. So I would say the first thing, think positive, although it's very difficult.
Yeah, it's hard.
Think positive is very difficult, but at least like shift, like, yes, you can grieve, you can cry for 3 days, but give yourself time. Don't spend like 1 month. For me, maybe I cried. I don't remember this time if I cried or not. Maybe I did, but there was like a moment that like, okay, I just need to get it out of my system so I can move on and go ahead with my productive self. So give some time to grieve, but limit it. That's first. And then map out the plan. What's your plan? And if your plan is just to rest, put that rest time, okay, for the next month, I'm going to be resting and I'm going to be doing nothing and I'll be reading books. And then what comes next? What do you want to do? You want to start your own business? You want to look for another job? Start doing it. But ideally, you do all that before you even get laid off. It's a continuous cycle. Like they joke you get a new job, you update your CV and have it ready. Right? In a way, it's a joke, but it's
I think
also a reality.
It's a new paradigm that I don't think any of us are used to. Right? I mean, before you would, maybe Microsoft or Google has some annual thing, which even pre-COVID wasn't that often. And I think some bubble burst after COVID where, somebody's announcing every 6 months on another. So I feel like it's something we all have to accept as a reality in the industry.
Look, it's never personal, although it does seem in a moment that it feels, absolutely it feels. And once you kind of you come out from yourself as an observer and you observe the situation and you analyze it like, hey, it's really not about me being a bad performer or a bad person or that your manager being a bad person, not to say bad words on the podcast, but it's just the way it is. Yeah. And like, do I want to sit here and be a victim, or do I want to be an author of my life and go build the bright future? Usually, from my experience, what I tell to people, look, in every single situation where we thought it was critical, it was not favorable, it was like a universe guiding us on a new path. So like when the door closes, another one will open. And if this happened to you right now, that means this chapter is closed and you better move on. Like for me, I know exactly like the situation in Broadcom. I knew this gonna happen. I was prepared for 2 years ago when Broadcom acquisition happened. It was dragging, but I knew it's just a matter of the quarter because everyone kind of living on the quarter. So I was well prepared. I had a good network. Everything was going well. But I knew my intuition was telling me, you are done here. This chapter is closing. You either leave yourself, get the courage and step out because it's also comfortable, right? Like, why would I step out of the comfort zone? Yeah. I'll stay for another month, another quarter, another year. Or if you don't understand, I'll just close that door forcefully. So you also need to kind of evaluate where you are in life, and if you're working in the company or in the job that doesn't bring you joy, and that maybe it's more of a liability, you're not thriving, then it's for better for you to move on.
Yeah, make a decision.
Yeah, I want to jump on to, there is a topic that I'm always debating about why it's so different, why big companies choose for senior go-to-market based on gender, which is tough to say, but I don't see enough women's out there. And I know it, like back home, my wife, she's also in very senior position, but she always alone. There is only men over there in sales and go-to-market. Why do you think companies choose from that perspective to hold on and say it's not the right time for us?
Look, there are different perspectives. One is historically, if we talk about sales leaders, sales reps, it's a number-driven game. It's go, go, go. It's all in numbers. You get the deal. Doesn't matter how you get it in this quarter. And this type of behavior, naturally, that's a male energy. Let's put not the male, but a male energy. So it's overachiever. You go, you achieve, you see the target, you kill the elephant, you bring your dinner to the table. So that's the male energy. The female energy is more nourishing, creating relationship, caring, building new things, expanding. And all of us, men and women, we have both energies, male and female. It just which one dominates. Ideally, they're in balance, but they never are. So one or another dominates. And then when we look about sales, you kind of think, well, which salesperson will be more successful? The one that is nourishing and soft. And in some cases, they are. If it's a farming type of sale where you need to do renewals, maybe that relationship-based, more nourishing would be more suitable. And it doesn't mean that a woman would be nourishing woman. I know so many women, sometimes I am so assertive and sometimes aggressive that I scare myself. But there are days when I'm just let's be friendly, let's drive it as a team, as a family. So different behavior. So I think one thing is what it used to be, go get the numbers, versus female energy. It's let's create ecosystems and partnerships. But the business is changing. And now we see even competitors, they go into competition. And the guy, let's say John, who is very assertive and aggressive, that used to compete, it would be difficult for John to create that cooperation with the competitor who he probably hates the guts of. And that's where women become, you can see a lot of women in strategic partnerships and business development, how you bring that next wave of the business. However, I don't want to generalize. I know a lot of women leaders, great sales leaders, great sales reps, tough, some are on opposite, very soft-spoken, but they get deals because the customers love them. They feel that they really can trust this person. And again, there's as many people, there are different customers and they would prefer different things. But if you talk about the workspace, right, in technical industry, of course, as you get senior, you need to understand that whole framework, being a generalist, how the whole business comes together. And if we talk about technical solutions, it's not just one SaaS, right? It's multiple networking, data, collaboration, infrastructure. You kind of need to get that grip. And not every woman would want to get into this type of techie stuff. Some find it very unattractive and they would rather go in the fashion industry or, cooking. I don't want to generalize. For men, it's more natural to go into this engineering, use the left brain, and it's understandable for them. Another thing that for some women, if we go about seniority, as it comes with the age, they have kids, they reevaluate their life, and it's look, I don't really need to be the next CEO and spend all my life on a flight. I want to spend time with kids. What is the job that would be good for me? There was a case for me when I moved from that sales leadership role that I was talking about Azure to a business development role because I wanted to have a child. And my doctor said, with the pace of life that you're having now, that you're flying 75% of your time, there's no way you can conceive or have a successful pregnancy. So I had to slow down and kind of ground myself more in Singapore with occasional trips around Asia, just to drive my stress level, my cortisol level down, my progesterone up. So it was kind of a career move that was connected to my life goals.
Yeah, and I think it's tough to, I'm sure sometimes in the way corporates are created, when there's not even a lot of thinking to even what you described, this whole dynamic of at what stages of life is somebody in a better situation to handle this versus that, because sometimes they're just quick fire decisions. But it's just, I think as an industry, hopefully it can keep doing better and elevating women executives. And I think in Asia, we just don't see enough of them, right?
But look, it's not only on the companies. Women have to play their part as well.
Fair.
It's not a victim mindset as well. So like I don't support those movements like, well, like men get all the jobs and women don't get anything. Men do their part to get those jobs. It's not like they land on them. They do networking, they follow up on relationships, they know how to get sponsors, whether it's drinking in a bar or remembering the names of the kids and sending them toys every weekend. I don't know. Like there was the interview I was listening, was it with John McKenna, that he said that when he was a sales rep, he was the most persistent. He would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, drive to the car park of his client, be there at 6 and wait for the VP of engineering to pull the car in, because that was the only time when he could talk to him. Could it be 15 seconds, 30 seconds? Sometimes when his secretary is not there, he will buy him a drink. Would women do that? Well, some women probably would. But if a woman has children at home that you need to make breakfast, get them ready for school, most likely she won't be there at 6, right?
Yeah, so. And it's a fair point. And I think we've had some people on the podcast that talk about, like Wendy talked about this and others, that her suggestion to women was stop being around the women so much and get in there with the men and explain to them how you need to be seen and what you need to do to elevate yourself, that you have to push through that.
If you want to do that.
Yeah. Maybe some people don't.
You don't have to. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. And the men are very receptive. I think that the Me Too movement created a bit of a distance. And I know a lot of men, they're very cautious with their female colleagues because of that. And once you come in and say, look, guys, like we are the same group. We can have drinks together. That's fine. I'm fine. I want to work together with you. This is my goals. Can you help me? They're very forthcoming. There's so many ally.
But I think that's even a technique that either, I don't know if someone's taught it to you or you figured it out, but even what you just described is a technique, right? Of placing yourself there, explaining yourself. My assumption is even people aren't taught that.
Yes.
As part of their learning in a career, that you somehow maybe stumble upon it or you figured it out.
Yeah.
But to me, even that little snippet is like, you figured out how to set the table for what you're trying to do, why you're there. And I think some women, even myself would not be good at being that forthright and candid about it. Mm-hmm. And that in and of itself to me is a strong technique, right? So yeah, it's fun. So Graceful Edge, explain a little bit about it. I've been reading it and I think it's something you started doing and you're kind of probably scratching an itch to write and share about what's happened in your life and teach people through it. So kind of give us a background on that and how's that going and what's the motivation for that?
Mm-hmm. I think the last thing is about teaching others. It's more about teaching myself, mainly to write. There is an interesting story behind this. I hate writing. I actually, not that I hate writing. I had a traumatic experience in my childhood around writing. I was brought up in Ukraine. At that time, it was still USSR when I was growing up. And my parents are strict. The school is strict. And I was a top student. That was the requirement from my parents. I couldn't get anything lower than A- in current terms, right? And essays, that's something that did not come easy to me. So there would be essays that I would write and my parents will take a look. No, that's not correct. They'll tear the page out. You write over again, write a new one. There was one specific one around Münchhausen story, the Baron Münchhausen. It's like the imaginary one, right?
Yeah, I know.
We had the topic that we needed to write our own Münchhausen story. I don't remember exactly what I was writing there, but I remember that I wrote 5 drafts. And my parents were just staring down like, this is rubbish. I was crying. I spent, it was already past my sleeping time. I was crying. And then it was my mom who's like, okay, I'll write it for you. So she wrote something. I don't remember even what. I gave that as a homework. I got a good grade. Everyone is happy. I'm like, okay, done. But that time, I'm like, okay, I better be very careful about writing. I need to fit into the norms, whatever were my parents' norm. I knew what my parents liked when I write. So I started fitting in norms. And then, it just did not spark any creativity. And through all my career, once I started writing in English, once I learned English as a foreign language, that was easier for me than writing in my own language, in Russian and Ukrainian, because my parents did not understand English. So no one could check my homework. No one could check my homework. I could write whatever I want. But still, writing somehow, I just do not enjoy doing, like writing reports, writing long emails, all those transformational memos. And that's where I love ChatGPT, because I can just dictate to it. Look, like that's what I want to say. That's the message. That's how I want to influence. Give it to me. Give me the draft. I'll edit, add my style. And that's what happens just recently, right? I started Graceful Age in May. I think it was April, after I was made redundant. I was working in Bukit Timah with my friend. And she's a Bazi specialist. Bazi, it's a Chinese kind of like numerology assessment thing, like Feng Shui Bazi. So they can take your date of birth, your time, your location. And similar to Western astrology, there is this Chinese way to analyze your...
How do you call it? Bazi?
Bazi. I don't know if I pronounce the right...
It's okay.
Find it.
I will find it.
Yeah.
I will find it.
So Bazi, it's an interesting profiling. So she is the expert in Feng Shui and Bazi. Like, hey, let me take a look. What is for the next 20 years, because I'm entering, I'm 40, in the early 40s. For the next 20 years, what is that activity that will bring you the most joy and money? I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. Like, I just love the job. Just tell me what it is, and I'll go do that, what you tell me. And then she calls me back and like, hey, it's actually writing. I'm like, no. That's like the last thing. Like I could assume anything, like even programming, coding, like I'll take it, I'll learn it. Writing, like no, like I will not do writing. Like that's one thing I'll do. Well, like it's your choice. Now you know this. That's what Bazi tells. That will bring you joy and money and connection and influence. You may choose not to do it, and you still will leave, but maybe differently. And that really stuck in me, like, but what do I write about? I don't know. Like, I'll write a blog and paper, a book, or like, I don't have anything to write and I don't like it. She's like, why don't you just send a signal to the universe to help you identify what that would be? I'm like, okay, fine. So I send that signal to the universe. And the same week, it was Saturday, I attend a Lean-In breakfast, Lean-In Women in Tech breakfast. And it was also about visibility and branding, women at work. I don't remember specifically the topic, but there was one table that spoke about visibility, and someone mentioned Substack. And I'm like, I know all the tools. I used to be in the digital marketing, right? Like, what is this Substack? So I go back home. It was 12 o'clock, we finished. 1 o'clock, I'm at home on the desk. I search for Substack. I understand what it is, writing the articles. Then like, oh, I actually saw some other people writing these newsletters on Substack. I'll write a newsletter. And I work with ChatGPT. We brainstorm with ChatGPT what could be the topics based on my interest, based on my experience, the different names, the concepts. So from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 11 p.m., I did not get up from my seat. I probably just bio breaks and some food. I issued my first manifesto. So like I did the site, the logo, the name, the template. The first manifesto was out, and then I went to sleep. Because for me, it was like, if I don't do it now, if I delay the next day, I will not do it.
Had to get it done.
Because the energy just came, and like you have to follow the energy. That's the key. Because if you don't follow, it's already opportunity is gone. And that's how it started. And I sent to my friend, like, you are the first one. It was the message that I sent her at 12. She was already sleeping. Like, look, this is the thing. This is my first article. You're the first one to see it, but I'm taking this as a writing project. That's the beginning of the writing project. And so that was the story about the Graceful Age. You probably wonder why the Graceful Age. I thought about it's the edge, right? So everything I do, whether it's technology or leadership or spiritual learnings, it's always kind of on the edge of things. It's on the edge of what people think normal. I hate being regarded as normal. And it's also the edge of discipline. So it's intersection of disciplines, of functions, if you call it, industries. So that was the edge. But like, okay, like I need some feminine touch to it because...
I was going to say, given the...
So like what kind of edge it could be? It could be a raw edge where like there is raw take. And that's what we were discussing with ChatGPT. And they were like, graceful. I like the word graceful. I'm like, that's cool. So it's going to be the graceful age.
Love it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Stick with it. Stick with it. It's been fun to read it, and I think it's hitting some home with some people kind of thinking about their life design and career design.
The interesting thing that it was created for women.
Yeah.
But the more resonance, or at least the feedback, I get more from men. And that's now like, I'm a bit confused because my description in the newsletter says it's created for women 40 plus, but all the action I get from men. And it's
but I think as a man, like I always tell people, like, you know, we have daughters and we think like, where do we learn the things to help us be better in our interactions with women in business? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you go through these phases of, you know, Me Too movement, and like you said, it pushes everybody back, which maybe wasn't a great thing, but it's also brought some more focus to it. And then you're sometimes just trying to educate yourself as a man to like, how do I get better? How do I not be one of the blockers? How do I not hold people back? You know, what are my biases? So when I read stuff like this, it's to kind of give me an insider's view from an education perspective, right?
Yeah, but it's also not just that. I also noticed that gave a opportunity for men to self-reflect and really become vulnerable. And I got more empathy towards men because we as women, we think we have all these issues with men at work, you know, being passed through promotions and challenges. But men have it too. They just don't speak about it. They don't speak about it in public, or maybe they don't speak about it with women because they don't want to look weaker. Maybe you guys speak with each other. I don't know. But men were writing in private messages. Like
we hug it out and
and like, hey, like I did not.
We hug trees.
Yeah, like I did not share this with anyone, but actually that's what I'm going through. And I'm like, well, thank you for sharing. And this is not necessarily men that I ever met in life. It could be someone who followed me on LinkedIn. And suddenly they feel like opening up. So that creates more empathy that it's not just women. Everyone is going through this transition. It's not easy. And you have to talk about it. And if it's ChatGPT, be it. But you cannot keep it to yourself because that just eats you from inside.
Yeah, I think it's good for raising awareness. And I think that's what I get out of it. We got to wrap.
Yeah, I have another one last thing and a view on... We like to see things as products. And you said, I created for women, but then men use it.
Yeah.
And for me, is saying, when you're creating something, you not always understand your product market fit. What you need to do is to create, the same as you did. The outcome can be very surprising.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what people like. So what is the graceful age? Like, look, at this moment, I'm just creating discipline in writing and creating clarity for myself on my leadership style because I was going through this self-discovery of who I am without titles. And in the future, it can be anything. Now, you know, I have this opportunity to speak at this podcast. Maybe there is, after this podcast comes out, there is a new opportunity. And then, you know, it creates the chain reaction. Yeah. But you need to make that first step. And clarity never comes before you start. It comes in the process.
Yeah. You have to have the platform to even experiment, right?
Yeah.
It's been great. You want to kick off?
Yeah.
Go.
What do you tell your 20 years old that you know right now?
Yeah, I think what I would say is don't act before you have all the answers. Because I was very careful before, like I needed to have answers and guarantees and learn to ask proper questions. Because the power of questions, I think it's the most powerful tool these days. Whether you're in sales, personal branding, in podcasting, it's how do you ask the right question in the right time and then the whole thing flows. So asking questions is something that I was working on. I went through the coaching certification just to learn to ask right questions to others and to myself.
Interesting. Yeah, and I think you're the second person that Alan mentioned this. Is like, I wish I knew when I was younger how to ask better questions. Yeah, and that one really hit me because I'm like, that's like, it's a superpower. And it unlocks so many variables, right? So what do you do to stay healthy, whether it be spiritual, mental, physical, that kind of keeps you grounded?
Yeah, so a lot of things. I'm a big health freak, biohacker in the past. Now I more call myself like longevity, vitality expert. I'm not ready to inject all kind of weird experimental substances in me. I take more easy approach. But in terms of physical, I'm a dancer. So I picked up dancing 1.5 years ago, Latin dancing. That was again something to distress me from the transition with Broadcom. It was super stressful to continue performing the triple-digit growth, keep the team motivated, and also deal with all the ambiguity around the business and the future of careers of my own and my team. So I started dancing, and that was my kind of avenue to distress. To be a better dancer, I also do gym, so strength training, but it's a part of the longevity protocol to keep those muscles healthy. I don't meditate in the traditional way. I tried so many times, different approaches, trackers, devices that record your brain waves. My meditation is the tea ceremony. So I'm a master of Chinese tea ceremonies, and that's what I have every day. Ideally in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon. I put the proper tray. It's called chaban.
You learned this in Shanghai? Is that where
No, I didn't learn it in Shanghai.
Okay, yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah, it would be great to learn from those tea masters. I learned it only recently through online education. I have the most exquisite teaware. Expensive, like the new way of luxury. You buy Dior bag or you buy the teapot from artisan artist in China. So I have all those like very special pieces that bring me a lot of joy. So it's aesthetic beauty, and then the teas also I source quite premium teas, and different teas evoke different emotions, different feeling in the body. I come from Italy now. From the holiday, I've been drinking a lot of caffeine, so I need to stop it so I can feel the tea better. Somehow they don't work together well. And I just have 15 to 20 minutes pause, only with me, tea, feel how the tea gets into my body, so center around myself. And that's my meditation, so I call it active meditation.
Love it.
Any book that you read?
So there's a lot of books. I'm the person, as a generalist, I read several books at the same time. And not all books I finish. But one...
This has been a thread with every generalist that I just never realized. Yeah, that's a bunch of people. It's like, I have a bunch of books. I don't get through them all. I'm okay with it. I pick them up. I set them down.
Yeah,
it's a meme, I think.
I get really excited about a new book, and then once I start reading it, like either the style is not right, either like I understand early on like what is it all about, and it loses its context. But the book that really keeps me going, and it's a big fat book, 777 pages. That's a magic number. It's called a Psy book or Psy book. Have you heard about it?
Psy book.
It's a cult book, in a way. So this book doesn't have an author.
It's fiction? Fiction
It
book,
is in a way fiction with the elements of psychology. You have to look it up. I got targeted on Instagram. And this is the most expensive book I've ever bought. It was €99 on discount.
Wow.
So I think original price is €149. It's a very beautifully done book, hardcover, silver sides. The pages are treated from that the book will not burn in fire. So it's a very beautiful book, thick, heavy, 777. It's a magic number in the book. So the storyline it's basically about 3 parts of our mind: reason, emotion, and instinct. And there's 12 different stories, how they show different personalities from these 3 variations. I highly recommend this book. I'm almost done. It's a long read, and you can read only 1 chapter. Like basically, if you finish the chapter on this day, you cannot start another one. You have to sleep before you start another. So there's a special instructions how to read it. And how I got interested in this book after I saw the ad, it was Djokovic that said, "This is the book that changed my life." I'm like, well, if this is the book that changed Djokovic's life, I want to read this.
I want to check it out.
And it's really different from anything else you read. If you do a self-help, kind of those self-reflection books, it's different.
So for everybody listening, we will get it in the show notes so people can find it. Thanks, Elena. This is great.
Thank you so much.
You.
Fun conversation. We appreciate all your candidness, and good luck with the Substack and the new role.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank